Now to Mohamed Salah's bombshell interview where he claimed he had been thrown under the bus by Liverpool and suggested this weekend's game against Brighton could be his last game for the club. We're going to be live to Liverpool's training ground a little bit later this morning, but the question is, will Salah be there? Well, he's been criticised by Wayne Rooney. We'll bring you those words in a moment, but first, just a reminder of Salah's interview that has dominated the headlines then.
Seems like a club is throwing me under the bus. That's how I feel it. I think it's very clear that someone wants me to get all the blame. The club promised me in the summer for a lot of promises and nothing. So far, I'm in the bench 3 games, so I can say that they keep the promise. And I said that many times before. I had a good relationship with the manager, and out of the sudden, we don't have any relationship. I don't know why. It seems to me, how I see it, it's someone doesn't want me in the club. It's not acceptable for me, to be fair. Like, I don't know why that's happening always to me. Like, I don't get it. I don't think I'm the problem.
Well, the fallout to those comments continue. So this is Wayne Rooney speaking to the BBC saying Arne Slot has to show his authority and pull him in and say, you are not travelling with the team. What you said is not acceptable. Take yourself off to AFCON and let everything calm down. If I was him, there would be no way he would be in the team. He is absolutely destroying his legacy at Liverpool. If I was one of his teammates, I wouldn't be happy at all with what he said, because this is where Liverpool need him most. If anything, he's thrown Liverpool under the bus with his words. I'm sure over the next couple of years, he will regret saying what he has. And former Liverpool striker Michael Owen tweeted, "Oh, Mo Salah, I can imagine how you feel. You've carried this team for a long time and want everything there is to win. But this is a team game and you simply can't publicly say what you've said. You're going to AFCON in a week. Surely you bite your lip, enjoy representing your country and see how the land lies when you get back." Well, Owen referenced Salah going to the Africa Cup of Nations with Egypt next week. Many of his international teammates have come out supporting Salah, as has manager Hossam Hassan. He posted this picture of the pair on Instagram with the caption, "Always a symbol of determination and strength." Well, goodness me, Mark McAdam with us now. I mean, a lot to unpack here with Mo Salah. Look, it was an incredible interview. I mean, how did you perceive his comments?
It's one of those moments where you see the headlines coming out. We got an advance email on Saturday night and you had to read it twice because it was explosive and it was quite astonishing in many respects. I think the first thing to say is I always have to respect a player when he comes out publicly and says how he feels and how he thinks. I've worked in football for over 25 years now, and very, very rarely do you get an interview like this. This is a stand to attention moment, and you have to respect Mo Salah, whether Liverpool like it or not. The fact that he's been honest, he's said how he's felt, and he's gone out publicly with it. You have to respect that, because so many players choose to hide their feelings and not be honest. And in the media, that's the one thing we're desperate for. We want the headlines, we want the good grabs, we want the nice interviews, we want the powerful statements, because that's what we're here to try and deliver for the fans. So I respect Mo Salah for doing that.
Yeah.
Then you just have to take a step back and look at what he's done. And there's 3 things, I guess, really, potentially in what he's trying to do. First of all, is he saying Arne Slot is not good enough? The coaching's not good enough. The standards are not good enough. This is a Liverpool Football Club side that are not achieving what they should be achieving. And does the blame lie at the door of the head coach? Point number 1. Could he be also saying, actually, this recent form, this slump in form, this is not my fault. I've been made the scapegoat, as he said. He's the one that's been dropped out of the starting 11. He's the one that's been on the bench for 3 consecutive Premier League matches. But hang on, this isn't about Mo Salah, this is about Liverpool Football Club. And therefore, by me coming out and speaking publicly, I'm addressing that actually I'm not the problem here, and I don't like the fact that the narrative within the media is that Mo Salah's the one that's being dropped, and maybe Mo Salah's the reason why we're not performing as well as we would like to be. And the third thing, I think, quite simple, this is a come and get me plea. You know, January the 1st is not far away, just a matter of weeks now before the window is open. And now, if you didn't know a few days ago, you certainly know now that Mo Salah is potentially available. He still obviously has 18 months on his Liverpool contract, signed a new 2-year deal in the summer. And of course, he's on astronomical wages, which limits the very few clubs that potentially could afford to buy him. Wow. But when you look at all of that, and that ultimately Mo Salah can only answer what his motivation was for saying what he said so publicly, I think you have to look at those 3 things, and it will certainly be wrestling control of the narrative, question marks over his relationship with the head coach, maybe trying to engineer a move in January. I put something on my social media to try and just gauge the feeling amongst fans, amongst Liverpool fans. Really interesting to see what both Wayne Rooney and Michael Owen have said. The one thing I took away from my social media post was that Mo Salah is gold-plated at Liverpool. He's untouchable. The fans absolutely back him 100%, and no matter what he says in the media, they still feel he is the main man and he has the right to say and do what he wants. So Liverpool fans very firmly backing him in this situation. Fascinating to see how this plays out, because one thing's for sure, Hayley, this saga won't end anytime soon.
Yeah, and neither will this chat, because look, Mark, did Salah actually have a point? Because, I mean, he's earned the right to be playing, or can Arne Slot actually be justified for dropping him? What do we think?
It's fascinating, because how many times has Mo Salah come up with the goods in Premier League matches, Champions League games, and actually done something? Even if he's had a quiet game or a poor game from a collective or a team perspective, how many times does he possess that special sauce that enables Liverpool to go and get 3 points? Right, so his track record is scoring goals in crucial moments. If he has a quiet game, he can still come up with the magic. I found this really interesting as well. So a lot of talk about his performances individually, a lot of talk about things. Look at this, distance covered last season in the Premier League, 9.3 kilometres on average per game.
Okay.
This season, Mo Salah is running more on average than he did last season, up slightly to 9.7 kilometres. You're surprised at that?
I've not seen this yet, and I am surprised.
Exactly. So most people would say, well, has there been a drop-off from Mo Salah? Is he not working as hard for the team? You can see the sprints ever so slightly down
Not much.
on last season, but 0.3.
Yeah.
But what you're seeing, the distance covered, he's covering more distance than he did last season. So you'd look at that and say, well, actually, he's maybe overperforming what you'd expect him to. There's been no drop-off with regards to the distance covered from Mo Salah. So that's one of the things that I find quite interesting. Then you flip that into the sort of goals and assists where he'll be judged. As you can see, this season, absolutely phenomenal. 47 goal involvements last year as they went to win the Premier League title. 54.7% goal contribution. So you can see the importance to him, how key he is, how important he was last season. This season, there is obviously a drop-off. We know he's not scored as many goals and got as many assists last season. Just 4 goals in the Premier League, a couple of assists. The goal contribution rate down at 25%. So again, the output, not quite there for Mo Salah, but certainly with regards to effort, energy, sprints, distance covered, he's doing the same or better than he was last season.
Look, how do we feel the club are going to respond to this? Do you think we'll find out a little bit more about his future as well? We'll find out a bit more about that in a minute.
That's coming up.
Yeah, I just want to know about his future then. And do we think Liverpool will release a statement? How do you think the club are going to react?
I think the club will be really unhappy at this situation. What Mo Salah's done is almost sort of chuck a grenade into the football club and let's see whether it fizzles out or it explodes. We don't know how they're going to react. What we do know is that we've got access to Liverpool later on today. At 11:45, there's an open training session ahead of their Champions League game. So therefore, we will get the opportunity to see whether Mo Salah is in Liverpool training, whether that might change. And then Arne Slot with a player will be speaking today at 6:45. So they're in Liverpool at the moment, they'll be training, then they fly out to Italy ahead of the Inter Milan game. And then from 6:45, make sure you tune into Sky Sports News later on today. This is a press conference. You get the popcorn out. You do not want to miss. I'm sure Arne Slot will have some really interesting comments about this whole situation and what's happened in the last 72 hours.
Well, we are going to start lunchtime live by getting straight to Liverpool training. You can see there Mohamed Salah. Let's cross to our reporter Alan Irwin, who is there for us. Alan, good afternoon to you.
Yeah, good afternoon. The pictures that the world's media have been waiting to see. Mo Salah is out and preparing to train with Liverpool this afternoon. As you saw, he did arrive at the training ground around about 9:30 this morning. The manager had already arrived at 8:30 and Mo Salah drove into the training ground about an hour later, and whether he's had that meeting with the manager beforehand remains to be seen. But what is certainly clear is that Mo Salah is out and is ready to train with Liverpool this afternoon ahead of them travelling to Milan for the Champions League fixture against Inter, which takes place tomorrow evening. There was some doubt as to whether Mo Salah would actually be part of Liverpool's squad that does travel to Italy later, but it does appear to be the case, as you can see here. Mo Salah with a football at his feet, something that didn't happen to him on Saturday at Elland Road when he was an unused substitute, and following that 3-3 draw with Leeds United in the Premier League at the weekend, there was an astonishing outburst and some very cutting words from Mo Salah when he spoke to journalists after the game had concluded, and words that were certainly chosen to have an impact, and words that really have increased pressure surely on manager Arne Slot under maybe many would feel enough pressure given Liverpool's poor start to this Premier League campaign, where they have already lost 6 matches. Mohamed Salah doesn't very often speak to the media. We should remember that. And when he does, it tends to be when he really needs to, and he chooses his time and he chooses his words carefully, and fairly certain that he knows what the headlines will be. Rarely speaking to the media, but when it's important, he does so. That approach, though, was really taken to maybe a new level altogether with those explosive comments that came after the game. He claimed that the relationship with his manager had broken down. It was really a challenge to Arne Slot's authority at the club, as the form that the team have displayed continues to worry fans. Many players underperforming and nowhere near the levels that brought them the title last season, but Mo Salah feeling that he's been made the scapegoat and left out of the side for the last 3 Premier League matches, and an unused sub altogether, of course, at the weekend. He feels, in his words, he's been thrown under the bus by manager Arne Slot. You would imagine that there has been a meeting between the two. Certainly, we understand that Mo Salah was here yesterday, Sunday, following the game on Saturday at Leeds. Maybe a warm-down session with players that weren't actually utilised over the course of the weekend. But you can see he's out there doing the initial training ahead of this game against Inter over in Italy. Tomorrow, Arne Slot will also be talking to the media. That will come later on this afternoon after the club arrive in Milan. He will hold a press conference around about 6:45 our time. So it'll be interesting to see what Arne Slot has to say on the situation, because there's no doubt that they will be the first questions posed to the Liverpool manager. Mo Salah, of course, such an important player for Liverpool over his time at the club, having won 2 Premier League titles, the Champions League, the FA Cup and the League Cup as well, scoring 250 goals. In the Premier League, he scored 188 goals and provided 88 assists. These are record numbers, and all that. 420 appearances in all, and registering those 250 goals in total. He's third on Liverpool's all-time list of goal scorers behind Ian Rush and Roger Hunt. But certainly this season, time has looked as though it's beginning to catch up with Mo Salah, who's 33 now, and it wasn't really a surprise when Arne Slot dropped him to the bench for the 2-0 win at West Ham United last weekend. His form has certainly not been up to his brilliant levels. Maybe he is human after all, but his form has certainly not been up to the levels that he has been used to and the Liverpool fans have seen in the past. And I suppose that goes for a number of the players as well, and maybe that's the feelings that Mo Salah wanted to echo at the weekend when he chose to stop and talk to journalists at Elland Road. He was named the PFA Players Player of the Year, wasn't he, for last season, after scoring 29 goals and adding those 18 assists, picking up the Golden Boot and helping Liverpool to the title, of course. But a little bit different this season with Liverpool's drop in form. But Mo Salah out there going through his initial paces, a gentle warm-up before they get down to the serious business. They'll train here for around about an hour or so before they head off to the airport and take that aircraft that will land in Milan a little bit later this afternoon. But these are the pictures that everyone was interested to see. Would Mo Salah be on the training pitch with Liverpool today following the explosive comments from the weekend? And as you can see, he is out there being put through his paces before they head off to Milan for what is a very important game for Liverpool, isn't it, in the Champions League, given that they lost the last game against PSV at Anfield by 4-1. And Milan, of course, are riding high in the Serie A, top of the table at the moment, on the back of a 4-0 win at the weekend, and they have won 4 of their 5 Champions League fixtures so far, only losing the last one at Atletico Madrid. So will Salah be part of the squad? It certainly looks that way. He's out there training. Will he be part of the starting 11? Will he be in that starting 11 that takes to the pitch at the San Siro tomorrow evening? Those questions, of course, will be posed to Arne Slot a little bit later on, but Mo Salah is out there and looks as though he's enjoying it so far, Joe.
Yeah, he does, doesn't he, Alan? Because actually, I was just going to say about the body language. If we hadn't known what had happened at the weekend with those comments, you'd be looking at Mo Salah and thinking absolutely nothing had happened, because he looks very relaxed. He looks like he's smiling, enjoying himself. And that, to me, is very interesting to see.
Yeah, I think we're all taken aback really by that, because most of the Liverpool squad all seem to be in fine spirits despite this drop in form that we've talked about endlessly, I suppose, throughout the course of the season. But there doesn't seem to be any animosity out there between Mo Salah and his fellow teammates. We haven't seen him in close proximity to the Liverpool manager as yet. Arne Slot was one of the first out onto the training pitch around about 10 minutes ago, before the players filtered out one by one. Szoboszlai and Kirkes were the first couple of players out, along with goalkeeper Alisson Becker. But the mood seems quite relaxed, doesn't it, there for Liverpool and the whole squad. Plenty of smiles, looking quite jovial ahead of what is a very big game for them. In fact, they're all big games at the moment, but with 3 games remaining in the Champions League group phase, Liverpool need to try and ensure that they can finish in one of those automatic top 8 spots to avoid a playoff should they finish outside of the top 8 and in the 16 places below. So Mo Salah, all smiles. Plenty of the players seem to be enjoying it so far. They've moved a little bit further away, which we thought would be the case. We're allowed to film the opening quarter of an hour or so of this training session under Champions League regulations, and all cameras focused on one man in particular, a man who signed a new contract, of course, with Liverpool last season, a man who doesn't speak to the media very often. In fact, if you recall, the last time he probably made his feelings known to journalists who are waiting in what is known as the mix zone after a game. Players aren't obliged to stop and talk to journalists, but some choose to do so, and that was certainly the case at the weekend when Mo Salah chose his words very carefully and was there for quite some time. I'm sure you all have seen the interview now in full, and Mo Salah certainly making his feelings known and creating the headlines over the course of the weekend. So he clearly had something to say. He got it off his chest, and I suppose what we want to know now is what has been said between the manager and Mo Salah himself, because it would certainly seem to be something that needs to be resolved if Liverpool are to actually improve and make progress this season.
Mikel Arteta has made it clear that Arsenal will need to unleash their complete player against Bayern Munich. The Gunners host the German champions at the Emirates Stadium on Wednesday, and one man in particular could be decisive. Ebereki Eze, described as a very complete player by teammate Mikel Merino, is emerging as one of Arsenal's most dangerous weapons ahead of their Champions League clash with Bayern. The 27-year-old announced himself in North London with a stunning hat-trick in his first derby since arriving in a £67.5 million move from Crystal Palace. His 3 brilliant goals dismantled Tottenham, and truthfully, he could have scored even more. Mourinho believes every one of Arsenal's 8 summer signings has lifted the squad's level, helping the team build a 6-point lead at the top of the Premier League. But Wednesday's matchup is different. Bayern Munich, the reigning Bundesliga champions, represent the toughest test yet for Arteta's side. Speaking after the win over Spurs, Mourinho praised Eze's qualities and hinted at the impact he could have in such a high-stakes European battle. "We've brought in a lot of players who can make a difference. But you can see that other teams have spent big as well," the Spain international said. "Individual brilliance can win matches, sure, but in the end, it's the team that matters. If you have great players who don't connect, that's a problem. The good thing about this group is that everyone thinks about the team first." When asked about Eze specifically, Mourinho didn't hesitate. "I think he's incredibly complete. He can dribble, he can pass, and his technical quality is outstanding. In Spain, we always talk about players who can connect with others. He has that naturally. He grew up with that instinct to link play, move the ball, and build relationships on the pitch. He also has the mindset to get involved, demand the ball, and influence the game. At the same time, he's strong, he can take players on, and he can finish. He's a truly complete signing." Mourinho also touched on how the modern game often reduces players to simple numbers. "These days everyone judges players by goals and assists, that's just how it is. But as footballers, we see the deeper qualities he brings, the technique, the movement, the intelligence. Even in training, you can tell immediately how special he is. Yes, he's scoring goals, but he's much more than that. He's an exceptional player, and we're incredibly lucky to have him. He can play in several positions and adapt to different systems. He's been a huge addition for Arsenal." Beyond the technical qualities, Mourinho believes Eze's attitude, and the healthy competition within the squad, will be crucial in Arsenal's title push. You can hear the calm in Eberechi's voice and see it in the way he carries himself. He's confident, grounded, and every morning we sit together in the sauna at the training ground and talk about everything, he added with a smile. He's a great guy, already fully integrated, and we need players like him. Competition is fierce. There's so much quality in this squad. That's exactly what the manager wanted, as many top players as possible, all ready to play. It makes his decisions tough, choosing who starts and who doesn't, but it also pushes every one of us to give our best in every session. And that's why we're improving as a team. As Arsenal prepare for Bayern's arrival, Arteta is facing one of the most delicate balancing acts of the season. The squad is healthy, competition is fierce, and expectations have never been higher. But behind the scenes, there is a growing sense that Iza's versatility and calm presence may be essential against a Bayern side known for controlling the tempo in big European nights. Arteta himself has hinted at Iza's importance without naming him directly. After the Tottenham victory, the manager spoke about the need for players who can break pressure, dictate rhythm, and stay composed when the game becomes chaotic. Those inside the club believe those comments were aimed at Iza as much as anyone. The coaching staff has been particularly impressed by how quickly he has adapted to Arsenal's positional play structure, a system that demands far more tactical discipline than what he was used to at Crystal Palace. Analysts at the club point to his growing influence not only in the final third, but also in build-up phases, where his ability to glide past pressure could help Arsenal bypass Bayern's aggressive midfield line. There is also an awareness that Bayern's fullbacks tend to push high, leaving spaces between the lines. Iza's skill set, sharp turns, deceptive acceleration, and precise final balls, could be exactly what Arteta needs to exploit those gaps. Outside the club, pundits have already started circling Wednesday's match as a defining moment for the £67.5 million signing. Some believe that if Iza can impose himself on a Champions League quarter-final against Bayern Munich, it will confirm his arrival among Europe's elite creative players. Former players have echoed that sentiment. Several ex-Arsenal figures, speaking on television over the weekend, highlighted the need for someone who can change the temperature of the match with a moment of calm or an unexpected burst of creativity. Iza, they argued, is one of the few in the squad capable of both. Meanwhile, Bayern Munich come into the match with their own confidence. Their midfield trio has been one of the most dominant in Europe this season, and they have shown a repeated ability to suffocate opponents early. That dynamic is precisely why Arteta may lean on Iza's composure. When the game tightens, Arsenal will need a player capable of slowing it down, protecting the ball, and finding solutions in tight spaces. Within Arsenal's dressing room, Mourinho's praise reflects a broader consensus. Senior players have reportedly been struck by Iza's humility and work ethic, qualities that have helped him integrate seamlessly into a squad that already had strong internal chemistry. Staff members describe him as someone who never forces the game and lets the match come to him, characteristics that could prove invaluable in a high-tension Champions League tie. As kickoff approaches, the narrative surrounding the match has shifted. What began as a test of Arsenal's resilience has quietly become a spotlight on whether Iza can elevate them in Europe the same way he has in the Premier League. For Arteta, the equation is simple. If Arsenal are to overcome Bayern, they will need more than intensity. They will need control. They will need creativity. And increasingly, they will need the completeness Iza brings to every phase of the pitch. Whether he starts in a wide role as a floating midfielder, or even as an interior playmaker, the expectation is the same. Iza will have to find the spaces others cannot, and influence the game in ways that statistics alone will not capture. The stakes are high, the opponent is formidable, and the spotlight is intense. But within the walls of London Coney, the belief is growing that this is exactly the kind of stage Eberechi Iza was signed for. Martin Odegaard is nearing a return to action after suffering a medial collateral ligament injury in Arsenal's 2-0 win over West Ham earlier in October. Yet, 3.5 years after Mikel Arteta named him captain, the Norwegian finds himself in an unfamiliar position. His place in the starting lineup is no longer guaranteed. For the first time since joining the club permanently from Real Madrid in August 2021, there is real debate over whether he remains an automatic choice for Arteta's 11. Odegaard, now 26, has been central to Arsenal's resurgence under Arteta, the conductor who shaped the team's rhythm through some of their most fluid football. But this season, the Gunners have been forced to navigate long stretches without their captain, first due to a shoulder issue that kept him out of 4 matches in September, and then because of a knee collision with West Ham's Crescencio Somerville that sidelined him again. And during his absence, something significant happened. Eberechi Iza stepped into the spotlight. Ease's sensational hat-trick in the North London Derby has complicated the picture. Now thriving in a central role, the England international has given Arsenal a different kind of presence around the edge of the box. A blend of unpredictability, directness, and two-footed confidence that opponents struggle to contain. He may not control games with the same metronomic precision as Odegaard, but he offers a spark, a willingness to take risks at moments when Arsenal need a jolt of creativity. After such a standout performance against Tottenham, it feels almost impossible to imagine Arteta leaving Ease out. The manager has always had a soft spot for players riding a wave of confidence, and Ease is currently surfing at full height. There was a similar situation back in September, when Mikel Merino was handed a start against Manchester City after scoring 4 times in 2 games for Spain, including a hat-trick against Turkey. Arteta doesn't hesitate to reward form. Ease has carried that form onto the international stage as well, recently scoring a stunning goal for England in a 2-0 win over Serbia in the World Cup qualifiers at Wembley. Though he can play on the left, it has always been clear that Arteta brought him to the Emirates to operate in midfield. And with Declan Rice and Martin Zubamendi near untouchable in the double pivot, the odds of Ease and Odegaard consistently starting together seem slim. That leaves Odegaard in an unfamiliar position. He needs minutes to rebuild sharpness, yet Arsenal's medical team won't rush him. The plan is likely to ease him back through short substitute appearances before restoring him to larger roles. But even once fully fit, Odegaard faces genuine competition, because Ease has shifted the landscape. His arrival has raised the team's ceiling, and his performances have earned him the right to keep his place. Before the dismantling of Tottenham, Ease had scored only twice for Arsenal, one against Port Vale in the Carabao Cup and another versus his former club Crystal Palace, a clever finish that sealed victory. Now with 5 goals across all competitions, he sits just 1 behind Odegaard's total from last season, when the captain made 45 appearances. Odegaard's 2023-24 numbers were outstanding: 11 goals, 12 assists, influence written across every competition. That is the standard he must match again if he wants to reclaim his spot, because Ease is hungry, confident, and eager to impress ahead of next summer's World Cup. Arteta will insist that Arsenal need both players at their best if they are to meet their ambitions in the months ahead. And with Kai Havertz also working his way back to full fitness, potentially slotting into midfield behind marquee striker Victor Gyökeres, the battle for places has never been fiercer at the Emirates. For Odegaard, the message is clear: he must rise to the challenge. His leadership and quality remain unquestioned, but he can no longer rely on reputation alone. If he embraces the competition and fights his way back into the side, his return could push Arsenal to even greater heights. And if the team has already reached this level without several key figures, the potential for what comes next may be even greater. Inside the club, staff members are quietly acknowledging that Arsenal are entering a new phase, one where no player, not even the captain, is immune to tactical evolution. Arteta has spent the past 2 seasons building a squad capable of sustaining pressure across multiple competitions, and the emergence of Ease is a sign that the manager's long-term planning is beginning to bear fruit. Depth is no longer a luxury, it is a necessity. But with depth comes difficult decisions. Arteta has always valued balance in midfield, and the contrasting profiles of Odegaard and Ease force him to reconsider what type of midfield best suits the team's ambitions in Europe and the Premier League. The technical control and spatial awareness that Odegaard brings have defined Arsenal's identity under Arteta. Conversely, Ease's dynamism, physical presence, and unpredictable touches give Arsenal a new dimension, especially against teams that sit deep or defend aggressively in central areas. This internal shift has also caught the attention of analysts and former players. Several pundits have begun to question whether the captaincy should guarantee a place in the lineup, especially at a club with ambitions of challenging for the Champions League. Others argue that Odegaard's leadership is too valuable to sideline, pointing to the standards he sets in training and his influence over younger players. Those debates are already spilling into the media, and they will only intensify as the season progresses. There is also the tactical question of whether Arteta might eventually experiment with a system that accommodates both Ease and Odegaard, something he briefly attempted earlier in the season during the win over West Ham. But with Rice and Zubamendi forming an almost impenetrable midfield pairing, any reshuffle risks destabilizing the defensive structure that has made Arsenal one of the most resilient teams in the league. The manager has hinted that he is open to adjustments, but only if they enhance the team's overall cohesion. For Odegaard himself, the challenge is as much psychological as it is physical. He has worked hard to cultivate an image of calm authority, a leader who raises the level of those around him through clarity and consistency. Now he must show that he can adapt, compete, and respond to adversity. His teammates still speak of him with admiration, describing him as one of the most studious and detail-oriented players at London Coney. They believe that once he regains full rhythm, he will naturally reassert his influence. Yet even they acknowledge that the landscape has shifted. One senior player privately remarked that, "The team is different now, ease has changed what we can do in the final third." That sentiment reflects not a lack of faith in Odegaard, but an understanding that Arsenal have evolved while he has been sidelined. For Arteta, the ideal scenario is straightforward: a fully fit Odegaard competing with a fully confident ease, creating a level of internal competition that lifts the entire squad. The manager often speaks about the need for healthy tension among his players, pressure that keeps standards high without fracturing unity. The arrival of Victor Gyökeres, combined with the recovery of Havertz, only amplifies that dynamic. Arsenal's season will almost certainly hinge on these midfield decisions. With Champions League knockout matches approaching and the Premier League title race tightening, Arteta must decide not only who starts, but what kind of identity he wants his team to carry into the defining months of the campaign. The next few weeks will reveal whether Odegaard's return sparks a resurgence or a battle for relevance. If he manages to reclaim his place, it could serve as a reminder of why Arteta trusted him with the armband in the first place. If he struggles, it will underline how rapidly Arsenal are progressing, and how little room there is for sentiment at the highest level. Either way, the captain's response will shape not just his future, but the trajectory of a team that believes it is on the brink of something significant.